agenda. Welcome to the March 29th Eclipse OpenJ9 community call. As always, please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees. If there's something that's not on the agenda that you'd like to discuss or something you think should be on the agenda, feel free to speak up now. We'll get it added in. If something comes to you throughout the course of the meeting, feel free to tag it into the any other business section as well, or to chime in on the relevant section. This week we have a lightning talk on the OpenJDK method handle adoption from Babneet and Nazim. So I will pause here and let them take over. Babneet, are you able to take over, or Babneet or Nazim, are you able to take over the screen share?
Yep, I will give it a try. Can these slides be seen?
Yes.
Is this the presenter view, or is the correct view being shown?
Yeah, I see the slides.
Okay. Shall we begin, or shall we give a few more minutes?
I think let's jump right in, just in the interest of time. And this will be posted online as well, so there'll be lots of opportunity for people to watch afterwards as well.
Okay, so we'll begin. So today we will be providing an update on the current state of adopting OpenJDK's java.lang.invoke package in OpenJ9. So the speakers are myself, Babneet, from the VM team, and I have Nazim from the Jit team. A little bit of background. So this work has been ongoing for more than 1.5 years. Approximately 7 VM team members and 5 JIT team members have contributed to this work in various capacities. The main intent of this work is to transition from OpenJ9's to OpenJDK's implementation of the invoke package. And the main intent of this work, the main motivation was to achieve a common representation for method handles between the VM and JIT. And the benefits of this work are less maintenance, since we no longer need to maintain an OpenJ9 implementation of the invoke package on the Java side. Also, new JIT support is not needed whenever a new method handle is introduced due to the common representation. Furthermore, we can take advantage of JIT optimization such as on-stack replacement, which was not possible with the OpenJ9 implementation. So this gives us an opportunity to achieve better throughput performance. And finally, this work has also made it easy for us to adopt new JEPs or Java enhancement proposals. For example, new JEPs for foreign memory API, a JEP 4.1.2, which was due for JDK 17, and JEP 4.1.9, which was due for JDK 18, were supported with no changes on the OpenJ9 side. For the current state, we have enabled OpenJDK's invoke package in OpenJ9 for JDK 17 and onwards. This means that we are functionally complete and we satisfy the minimal performance requirements. More on perf will be covered by Nazim. For pending work in JDK 11, the work is still in progress. We can compile the JDK, but we have noticed many functional test failures, which are being tracked via OpenJ9 issue 14540. There are 7 unique deficiencies which need to be resolved, and there's also an internal issue to track for other non-public test failures. And for JDK 8, we are still not able to compile with OpenJDK method handles enabled. There's also an issue opened as a global tracker, 14541, which will track all work related to supporting OpenJDK method handles in JDK 8. And once the compilation errors are resolved, I think we will run test suites and OpenJ9 issues for any failures seen. We believe that once JDK 11 is supported, transitioning to and supporting JDK 8 should be quick. And I think with this, I think we'll pass it to Nazim for the JIT and perf updates.
Thanks, Babneet. To enable OpenJDK method handle in Java 17 release, we needed to bridge the gap in performance between the OpenJ9 method handle implementation and the new OpenJDK method handle implementation in OpenJ9. However, in Java 17 and up, we do not have support for the OpenJ9 method handle implementation. So to get an idea of how we performed versus the existing implementation, we used Java 11 to compare. And here are some of the benchmark results that we had at the time, around the time of the release, where we were able to significantly bridge the gap. And yeah, so next slide, please. Yeah, and here are the rest of the Nason benchmarks, and so we had a bit of a gap in math test, but otherwise the rest of the tests were on par. Next slide, please. So with each Java release, we are seeing more and more usage of method handles throughout the JCL. An example of that is java.lang reflect. So the advantage of the reflect, looking at the reflect package, is that we have a benchmark that helps directly measuring the impact of method handle usage in the reflection infrastructure, and we can understand the performance gap versus the reference implementation VM. And so other than just the direct impact of method handles, we also have other causes behind having a performance gap even with no method handle usage, which is why this is something that we've been using in order to understand areas that we can improve, and we have been making progress towards that. So these numbers were when we started looking at these set of benchmarks, and we have been working from the data that we have collected since then. Next slide, please. So going forward, our goal is to close the performance gap between OpenJ9 with OpenJDK method handle and the reference implementation VM. So some of the work include tuning the JIT inliner to be better suited for the new method handle implementation, because currently a lot of the previous implementation is really dominating the decisions that are being made during inlining for the OpenJDK method handle implementation, which is not always ideal. And then another thing we're going to be looking at is further using the compiler hints that are available that the reference implementation VM uses to better optimize the code related to method handle. And we're going to continue performance profile analysis to identify more opportunities that we can use to improve our performance. So with method handle usage becoming more prevalent, so are some difficult to investigate defects around it, which is why I think it is important that we work on reducing technical debt around method handle implementation by adding more documentation related to that. Next slide, please. And another way that we're aiming to help with the technical debt reduction is an education session on OpenJDK method handle implementation sometime in May that me and Babneet are going to work on. And that is going to be available on the OpenJ9 YouTube channel. And going forward this year, we are going to continue work on performance tuning for Java 17 and up. we are going to also work on porting OpenJDK method handle support for Java 8 and 11, where we hope to see functional support within this year and more performance tuning next year. And then finally, removing the OpenJ9 method handler implementation code in order to reduce the duplicate implementation we have there and reduce confusion and make it easier for others to work with method handler related items. And with that, I think, yeah, that's the end of our presentation. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Thanks for the presentation. It's been some interesting information in there. Curious when we look at the timelines for migrating JDK 11 and JDK 8 to the new method handle implementation, the value in doing that, given the support timelines for those releases. Going to spend a year or two making that transition. Will the releases be in support for long enough for that to be time well spent or not? Has any thought been put into this?
Not yet. I think for JDK 8, I think it will. We will have to. I'm pretty sure it's. I'm not sure. Maybe it's 2030 when it will go out of support. But we haven't given a lot of thought on whether it will have a lot of value in backporting this feature to 8 and 11.
I think the dates that I have heard are 2026 for JDK 8. I don't have the 11 date off the top of my head. I don't know if anybody else does.
But you're right, Dan. I think we should also consider the end of life support for these before beginning work or spending time on supporting these features. We will have a discussion in the upcoming OpenJDK method handle calls to see if there will be any value for backporting this.
Okay. Happy to have an open discussion as well too, if that would help. So.
Yep, and after that, I think we can bring it up again in the OpenJ9 community call with our thoughts, and then have an open discussion with everyone.
Right. Thanks. I think at this point, then we should jump back to our regular agenda, because I know we have some discussions to have around the releases, so I will pull up the agenda again as well. And just in the interest of time, we'll skip over the new user raised issues and we'll move straight to the release roadmap. Is Pete on the call?
I think Peter is away today.
Okay. We'll pull up the milestone plan. And I see that we still have 5 items that are open in this milestone plan. So it probably makes sense to walk through each of them and see where we're at with them. So Toby, since you're just speaking, why don't we speak to the VM ones first? If you want to talk through where we're at with the test JLM remote thread auth issue.
Yeah, so that one we have a solution for. It's just getting reviewed. So if all goes well, that should be in, and we can get a few days of testing just to verify that everything is as expected. And so could be done with that one by the end of the week. A new one came in yesterday.
Sorry, Toby, before we move on, how risky is the fix for that?
So for this one, I think it's not a low risk just because of the area of the code that's being modified, which is why I would like it to sit for a few days possibly a weekend before we completely check that one off.
Sorry, and then you were speaking, I think, to the zlib issue?
No, the JDK 18 security. Yeah, so this one is a new issue. It's actually been failing since February, but we had another issue tracker in the same kind of test suite, which is why it was kind of hidden from us. I think there was an assumption that this issue and the previous one that we were looking at were the same, but they're not. So this one we're investigating to see what the problem is. I've only had like an hour to look at it, but the failure seems to be coming from one of the JCL natives, one of the socket receive natives. And that's all the information I have right now. So I'm not quite sure what to make of it yet, but this one is certainly a high priority as it's potentially the last blocker from a VM perspective.
Yeah, we need an analysis on whether this is a stop ship issue or not as quickly as possible. All right, and then we have the zlib issue.
So that one is proposed by Peter Shipton. I'm not quite sure what the intention is, so I'll have to have a discussion with him for that. But it seems like it's a simple update to zlib, so imagine that wouldn't be a blocker for us. It's likely something we can complete within the time frame.
I believe it may be a vulnerability was found in zlib. Has been disclosed publicly. That may be where that's coming from.
Okay.
All right. That brings us to the JIT issue. Daryl, are you on the call?
Yeah, so that is another one of these method handle issues that we're trying to get to the bottom of. It only fails. So first of all, it's highly intermittent, and it's only ever been observed on ARch64 Linux. We're not sure why. There's nothing really that we can determine that's sort of specific to ARch64 for that particular problem. Some earlier investigation, they thought that there was an issue with one of the stable annotations that was on one of the fields. And when they found that when they removed that, they haven't been able to reproduce the problem at all. Not sure if that actually is the issue or not, or an issue or not, but I mean, the fact that we got this code from OpenJDK makes it a little bit less likely that that might be the problem. However, it may just change the behavior of the code that we're compiling in such a way that it causes the problem to go away. So they're looking at some inlining differences right now. We're making slow progress on this one just because of the intermittency and the fact that it is limited to ARch64 and the resources that we have, the hardware resources that we have to investigate these are limited. So it is a bit of a slower go. But in terms of it being a blocking issue for JDK 18, I wouldn't put it in that category yet, or if at all. Just because of the characteristics of it and the fact that it's very limited to ARch64 Linux at this point.
Is this the one where they were looking at the varargs collector and there's a stable field in that code?
Yeah, I think that was the field.
I took a look at that code and I think I agree with their analysis that the @stable is incorrect in that case. I can take that back to the OpenJDK community, though. That would help.
Well, it seems to fix the problem, or we have not seen the problem occur when we've got that removed. And if it's clearly not the semantics of, if it doesn't follow the semantics of what at stable is supposed to be, then yes, then we should get that removed. So
It's my understanding that it doesn't, but we'll have to follow that up with the experts on
okay.
that annotation. So I can follow that up with the OpenJDK community. I'm happy to do.
Okay, thanks, Dan. In the meantime, Kono-san did open a IBM Runtimes repo specific PR to remove that field, to remove that annotation. Not sure if we want to merge that or not. It's basically a patch on top of whatever we're getting from OpenJDK. So
At stable should only be a performance improvement. So from that perspective, merging that PR should be an acceptable workaround.
okay. Okay, well, maybe if someone would like to review the PRs that are open on the IBM Runtimes OpenJDK 18, there's a pull request there. So would appreciate if someone a little bit more knowledgeable in that area of the code could take a look at it and merge it if you think that's the right thing to do.
Toby, I'll defer that one to you, given that I believe only IBM contributors can directly work on that repo.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so it sounds like we're not in a position to ship this week and possibly not next week either. So we are very quickly coming up on the point where we need to declare that we are not going to make our ship date or our 2-week window. Adam, how long do you need to get builds out once a release is declared?
We usually, when it's usually a Tuesday, we've done it usually by Friday. There was one we did by Thursday. But this is only for 18, so it should be quicker because it's only one version. So, like 2 to 3 days.
Okay. But I think we need to make that call by Friday. Sort of the latest we can make that call. So why don't we see if we can get a decision made on the @stable annotation, get that PR reviewed, and determine whether the security issue is JDK security bucket test is a stop ship or not, and reconvene over Slack and figure out from that. All right, that gets us the JDK 18 release, and then we have the next upcoming release. We have 4 items in here. Daryl, do you have an update on the state of these?
Sorry, I couldn't find mute there. Yeah, so let's see here. So the first one there, 14115, spent a fair bit of time looking at that one from a core file that we were able to get produced and to trace the origin of the null pointer exception that's being thrown. Based on the analysis of that, the particular null pointer in that instance originates from within a couple of generated methods that are not compiled, they're actually interpreted. And just by tracing through the inputs to those methods and what ends up coming up, it doesn't make sense that a null is being produced from those. So I did ask for some VM help on understanding what is going on inside those generated reflection methods to see if we can make some progress that way. I'm not sure why. I haven't seen a connection with OSR at this point, so I don't know why why this only shows up with the OSR stress modes. It may just be timing. I don't know. but I haven't seen the connection to OSR. But suffice it to say, it still needs the stress options in order for this problem to appear. So anyway, so we've made some progress on that, and hopefully get some insight from VM guys on that. The second one there is the one. Well, that's the one that. Oh, Annabelle's looking at that one. Yeah, that's. She started looking into that. I think she's just swapping that into her head, and she's had a couple of questions that she's asked back to the VM guys, who's done more analysis on this. So progress is being made, but we haven't quite got to a solution yet.
I'll just add for that one, based on Annabelle's latest comments, I think it may potentially be a VM issue. I still need to do some more investigation, so that's one we're also looking at as well.
Okay. The third one there, I think one of we haven't made any progress on that one yet. The developer that was going to make progress on that has not had time to do so yet. We've had some internal discussions on how we want to proceed with that one. I don't think reverting the original fix is the right thing at this point until we know more. But anyway, hopefully he'll have some time to start looking at that this week. And the last one, I have a developer looking at that one, and he has not been able to reproduce it yet. He's ground it several times. He's tried Pete's suggestions as well, and we haven't seen it fail yet. I believe there was an attempt to grind these on specific machines. I think Jason set something up yesterday or the day before, but haven't seen any results from that yet. So that one's still a highly intermittent problem that we haven't been able to get any sort of failure artifacts for to sink our teeth into yet.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like we have clear timelines on that yet either then. So for we had talked last week about delaying an M2 build until we had the hidden stack frame fix. It sounds like we are probably still delaying that M2. Just cognizant of time because I know a number of people have a meeting immediately after this. So is there anything else in the other sections of this meeting that we need to get to today or needs a discussion? Something that needs to be talked about, please jump in and chime in. All right, that basis, why don't we call this meeting here then? We'll pick this up again next week. Thanks everyone for your work on trying to burn down those release timelines and to get those solved. Thank you. Bye.